Hello there, it's Sunday, April 6th. It's a gorgeous day. I have no idea what time of the morning it is, probably before noon anyway. I just pried myself out of the house. These things from Amazon showed up. These are some pretty nice looking cup holders. They're pretty sturdy looking, plastic, that you get two of them for 18 bucks or you can get one for 10. They're pretty close to being the perfect cup holder for my needs. They got two holes here to screw this to a wall. I'm going to add a third hole because I could tell right off that these corners will break if the bottom is not secured to prevent it from tipping. So that's got some challenges. It's always a challenge, right? Challenges and compromises, that's what we do. So the plastic is too thin to add another screw through here and to countersink the screw so the head doesn't stick out and hit the cup down there, which is really not a big deal, but yeah, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a piece of wood and fit it to fit inside this square and then super glue it in the hole. Then I'm going to drill a hole and countersink the inside, and then we'll be ready to install. I just happen to have a little piece of oak board right here left over from I don't know what, and this ought to be perfect for the job. My table saw is clean enough to work with, so we're going to use my dial calappers here, or digital, and figure out what size we need, and let's get started. All right, I'm switching out to my sharpest blade. These tarantula blades are really great. They are just amazingly sharp blades. So, without further ado, the one I had on there was my old, I think it's a Stanley. I've been abusing this thing for years. DeWalt. That has been a good blade, but I've been actually cutting aluminum with it lately. All right, man, so order of operation is always key to making things easy. First thing I did is I cut how thick I need it to fill from the surface up here down to there. And that's pretty close. So now we're going to make cuts for how wide we need it, and put a couple of cuts in here this way. And then the last cut will be the length that we need, and all the pieces will fall off. So right now the whole board is holding everything together for us. Well, here we go. I got a couple different shots at getting the size right. And I guess I should have cut that one a little bit longer. But we just now set up our saw for this dimension. And what I'm doing is I got my fence locked and I measured, and that's what I want to get. And I'm using this block here because when I use my fence, when you use a fence and the sled at the same time, you want to make sure you got a space so whatever piece you cut off doesn't get locked in there and come flying out at you at the speed of sound. So we're going to put this over here, use that as a spacer, and then run across. I should have cut this one a little bit further right here on the right because the back side isn't quite long enough. I guess I could freehand that. Okay, let's see if we can get some live action here without cutting my fingers off. This thing doesn't want to stay. There we go. those ought to work. I only need 2. So let's see how close we got. A lot of this has just been eyeballing. Okay, good. That's a little bit tight. That's what I was shooting for, so I can finish it by hand. Same. That one's a little narrow. And this one will be narrow too. Okay. So these 2, and I'll use the belt sander, I guess, to kind of just finish them off a little bit until they fit in there. I'll keep the the rest just in case I screw something up. I've got something to work with here. All right, we're in there, all cured up. So what I did is I put a bead of the super glue around the perimeter at the top edge, and then a little bit at the bottom since there's an arc to it. I mean, those things are in there. All right, now let's figure out how we're going to drill this without splitting and breaking anything, and then countersink this side. That looks about right. All right, our challenge is actually finding the right screws because they're pretty small screws. I think they're number 4. And I'm struggling here to find something. I don't want to take a trip to the hardware store. So let's see what the length. I think that's, yeah. We're gonna need, I've got these. But these are flatheads. That would work, but this is too long. Let me keep looking. Here's what we got, man. The short ones are the originals that came with the kit. It came with 2 screws for each cup holder. And then the longer ones with the pan head, I called it a flathead before. I took 2 of them and cut the tips off to make them the length that I want. And I've got the one there on the lower left that's the original. It's got the point on it. I've already put 1 screw into that and I squared it up with this line using this thing as a square because I don't have anything else that'll fit in there nice and easy. And I'm using this pin vise. Look at that weird halo on this thing. My lens must be really dirty. That is weird, huh? I'm pre-drilling the holes with this guy so we can get precisely where we want and the screws go in easy. So I'm going to do screw number 2 now. Make a mark, and then we could remove this, drill it the rest of the way, and then we'll do the last screw. Or maybe we'll just spin this thing around to get it out of the way. This is really a two-hander, but it's easy, pretty easy to drill with a sharp drill bit. Well, there doesn't seem to be much difference between the uncut one towards the upper left and the cut one towards the bottom right, but that's the difference between poking through the 1/2-inch plywood. And there's wires and whatnot on the other side of this thing, so I wanted to have a more blunt screw point. So that's what they look like after I cut them and then ground them down. I took the original screw and screwed it in the hole, pretty much most of the way down in there, and then back out, and so that would put threads in the wood. And now we're going to try to install this puppy down there. Now these are all stainless, so it makes it kind of a pain. The magnet screwdriver won't stick to it, and they're not all that hard of a metal, so you got to be really good with holding the screwdriver straight. Let's see if I can get this bottom one in there. All right, man, that worked out pretty good. You know, there's not too many choices to where to put this thing. I was trying to not put it up here to block my vision out of this window any more than it already is. And, you know, it fits in there just right. I can still get my trailer brakes easily enough. It doesn't really interfere with how I would do that. All right. Came out nice. I'm happy with that. All right, now we got one more to do in the back for the little woman.